see exactly what the game plan is here for VKS. Personally, I'd probably go with the Yunara lock-in, and then you can still take your pick of the Orianna or the Ryze, or even go for the Galio as an answer into the Orianna, but looks like VKS just want to get Mireu on some comfort.
Yeah, we're looking at the Kaisa as well as being very successful yesterday. Did lose a couple of games, but if you include Home Life eSports there, I mean, Viper didn't lose. It was the rest of his team that did around him. It looked absolutely fantastic, so Massu going to be piloting that one most likely, still taking their time, working out what else is going to be paired alongside it. Not going to be the Nico this time, that was banned away by FlyQuest, but the Yunara is actually the final decision, as Inspired will hover some stuff.
Yeah, it looked like Fly were considering maybe going for like the Kaisa buy and go for this heavy dive composition. You can take the Galio then to follow up, and you've got this nice answer into the Orianna plus a ton of dive. But I think with the Yunara open, the Kaisa just gets very, very difficult to play in lane. So instead, opted to take it themselves. And then Inspired, I think Jarvan isn't the worst option here. Wukong works as well. But just
I really like Wukong when you've already got the Yunara, right?
Yeah.
Because she doesn't really have the best time into the Monkey King. And so taking that one away from Disamis is a good idea. But you were talking about Jarvan. I mean, Jarvan Orianna, pretty good combo. You could also take Nocturne if you would like to, but Jarvan's certainly something that has been a little bit more in his wheelhouse more recently.
Yeah, I mean, Jarvan and Rumble could actually work really, really well here. But not only do you
Jarvan
take away
Caitlyn, you could just go for that matchup that we have seen into Yunara over and over again.
Yeah, and I think it's just a case of making this Yunara uncomfortable, right? Yep. If you can get down the Rumble ult, or you have that range with the Caitlyn, it just makes it a bit of a null factor. So Jarvan already taken. We'll have to figure out what that last one is going to be.
Wouldn't mind. Now, the more I think about it, I think you're onto something with the Rumble. I think the Rumble feels pretty good, but we'll just have to see where VKS want to go, because now that an AD carry is locked in over the other side, it makes things a little bit messy, right? Because you could be staring down the barrel of a difficult bottom lane that can then be protected by a couple of bans to come in immediately afterwards. So maybe it's going to be an AD carry that could be locked in, and that Kaisa that we were talking about before will be picked up by Morttheus here for the bottom side of the map. And this champion has been pretty strong, and there's already a whole lot of dive available with that Jarvan.
Yeah, it's just one of the things we saw yesterday was that the Kaisa ults in to try and kill Yunara, and then Yunara just kills the Kaisa. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a difficult one there. So I'm curious exactly how VKS want to try and play this, because yes, you got the Jarvan as the setup, but what's the rest of this composition going to round out as? Because obviously you need something like an Alistar or Rel to kind of facilitate alongside the Jarvan, but I don't see a lot of other things that you can pick, especially with the Ambessa gone, that you can try and pair for that extra dive into the backline.
Yeah, could have been an option. And I'm a bit sad. I actually feel like if FlyQuest had have banned the Orianna, they could have maybe baited the very popular Ryze first pick. True. And we could see Quad play Cassiopeia. He's always loved that champion.
Yeah.
It could have been an option. Not actually going to come through here, as the Alistar will be the final lock-in. Still, there is a chance, theoretically, but not as good of a matchup.
But at least it's
into the
Fearless, so maybe we'll get it next time.
Yeah, that's true. This is Fearless best of one.
Yeah, but it's still gone, right?
Yeah, it is gone. So they can't play it in a game 2 if it was to exist. I'm really glad that you brought that up. I really like talking about Fearless Best of Ones a little bit earlier in the year. All right, we do see the Poppy banned away, and a couple more bans to come through now from VKS. As we'll see, that this is not going to be Fearless ban, this is going to be real bans. Yeah. You can't actually play.
I am surprised by Fly going for the Poppy ban though, because again, like, I feel like you want more dive on VKS, and Poppy isn't really that. She's anti the engage and anti-setup. Like, I understand you have the Alistar, but realistically, I think you're looking at like Trymbi trying to go for something like a Rel, some sort of engage on that bottom side. So I thought you'd remove like Nautilus, remove Rel, and just try and set yourself up nice and easy in this bottom side. Maybe even remove something like the Rakan too.
Yep.
But
I don't mind it, because it does really do a number to headbutt and Nimbus Strike. So the engage options do get limited by the pop, and she's just annoying. Let's be honest. If you don't want to play her, it makes sense to remove it. As the Rakan also going to be taken away here. As what are we picking up on for? Actually, like, we were talking about the Rumble before, but mainly for the VKS side, I think Rumble Wukong is one of my favorite combos of all time. That would fit quite well. Also denies it from Boal towards that top side of the map. Bwipo would be no stranger to playing the Rumble.
I still don't hate going for something like a Galio here, honestly, on this 4th rotation. Like, works well into the Orianna, good side laning presence. You've already got decent damage follow-up.
It does also deny a Rumble on the other side, because then you flex it to Bwipo to play it into it.
So yeah, I'd probably go with the Galio here, and then, as you say, you can kind of wait and see what these next couple of rotations are going to be before you fully commit.
Well, let's see what Massu is going to be locking away, and for who. They're looking for a couple of solo laners. And we'll see where it does go. Syndra's an interesting one.
She did get buffed on the patch, but
Might be our first look into some actual changes. Speaking of which, another one buffed on the patch, but no, won't be the case. It's going to be a Viktor, which is far less interesting than either of those other two options.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting because, again, you've set up here with things that like going for a mobile carries, and now you've locked in Viktor, right? Like, yes, you have that gravity field that you can throw down over the Cataclysm to kind of make things uncomfortable for the Jarvan, but it's not exactly ideal, I think, in this situation. But either way, I think FlyQuest are just saying, look, we have already beaten these guys so many times before. Let's just play for late game scaling, play for team fighting, and have something that is just going to be very, very strong when we come to those objective setups.
Well, the Sion is going to be locked in here with the jungler already locked in on the other side. It is a little safer to take that pick, so a little bit less likely to be trundled. As Trymbi, what's it going to be? Looking for his own pick here to pair alongside the Kaisa. I'm interested. Is it just going to be Rel go for a little bit of added engage? But they do have a lot of it already there. Instead, just some targeted CC for that Yunara, making sure that Massu is going to have the hardest time possible. And already, there's a Jarvan, there's a Sion, and that's going to mean that navigating these team fights for FlyQuest is going to be a little awkward. But they do have a fair bit of damage already, especially if Bwipo locks in something that is capable of putting on some hurt.
Put around out something like a Gwen here on the top side if you wanted to. You get the Shroud to deny that Orianna ult. You set up that very well for the rest of your team fight because you provide another DPS. So even if you take out the Yunara or the Viktor, you've still got that extra threat. But it's going to be a different AP carry, it looks like, in the top side. Didn't work out too well yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Yeah. And as it turns out, we can have a little bit of a run back here, this time against the Sion. I believe it was into Cassante yesterday, but it is pretty decent as far as anti-tank is concerned. And you can also kind of mess up team fights by removing one of the pieces so that Massu can pop off
but also,
in these fights.
How does Morttheus try and play this? You ult into the back line and Mordekaiser goes yoink immediately. And just,
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult for Morttheus to try and play this one out. So I think it then becomes heavily reliant now on Mireu getting off to an early lead, getting some early gold, and having these massive shockwaves, because otherwise I think you just start getting picked apart in these team fights.
Could be a little bit of an awkward one, but I do like the fact that there is a lot of damage coming out from FlyQuest, and it's something that can take away some of the burden from this Yunara to make sure that she can carry out this game. And coming into this, we're expecting that 25% chance, right? Yep. For VKS. It was a 3-0 the series before that, though, so it's not necessarily something that is going to be an easy task if Vivo Keyd Stars. Yeah, I'd prefer it that way because doing the percentages with 3 extra games, that's just going right over my head. I'm an eSports commentator, not a mathematician, so that one's not going to happen. But still, I think that there is always a chance, right? This is Worlds. These are best of ones. It is so incredibly volatile. And moving to 1-1 feels so much more comfortable. Like, this is a dangerous round right now because it's a 0-2 you're staring down the barrel of as we get onto the Rift here for our first game out of 8 on the day. Oh, man. Yesterday, I was sitting at home watching, and I was just, every time I was like, wow, there's another game. There's just always another game. It was spectacular.
You do get to, like, game 5, and you're like, is it, how many do we have left? Is it still? Yeah.
And then you're like, there's 3 more to go?
We kept being convinced that G2 was going to be the next game. It was like, no, it just never comes.
I'm like, when is Gen G going to play? Are they on the docket today? That's what I was trying to figure out. It didn't quite work. But now, let's see how this one's going to go. Bwipo getting into position, doesn't quite find Boal there. But Sion versus Mordekaiser. It's like basically the same champion based on how they look versus each other. It's just going to be meatballs fighting themselves.
Yeah, I think the person I'm going to be keeping my eyes on this early game is Disamis. You're on the Jarvan. You know Wukong wants to scale to level 6. Like, you have these moments where you can try and find action, especially when you've got, you know, some setup in the bottom lane here for Trymbi. You got some opportunity if you want to try and look at the top side as well, I think. But realistically, for VKS, it's mid and bot is where you should be putting most of your attention.
Yep. I would also just like to see like a randomly large amount of early game pressure here to be put on as Trymbi finds the minion. That minion is going to get punished, but it's not really going to hurt FlyQuest here. As decent little snare. Busio going down relatively low, but Massu is going to put the pain onto Trymbi. And yeah, so my eyes also just going to be glued onto Disamis to see whether this Jarvan can actually find some angles to make something early happen. Level 2 going to be gained here by FlyQuest though, and already a fair bit of control being put on. Same can be said for mid lane as well. Slurkle goes wide. How do you feel about Slurkle?
Slow? What?
The slow circle.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a little annoying if I'm playing against it.
Okay.
Because it's just, yeah.
I was more just the name.
It is a phenomenal name, if I can pronounce it.
You're the first person to say that it was good. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Look, we don't get to work together very often, so I'm just going to be the yes man for the majority of this cast. Then I'm going to go back and...
Don't do it. That's too much power. You're giving me too much power. I've been with the no men for quite some time. You know, I started with Papa Smithy. He was like, Max, you're an idiot. It's all right. Bwipo, he did say that. He's a lovely man. As Boal, fair bit of damage here. But Bwipo is the Mordekaiser, so does have a fair bit of sustain in the kit. They're just going to be living on some lower health bars here. W still up and available here, I'm pretty sure, for Bwipo, so it should be all right. Death Grip not going to land.
I'm keeping my eyes on Disamis though, because he's immediately started to move back up towards his top side. Obviously, there's push on bot, which makes it difficult to get scuttle, but yeah, you can see Bwipo getting that ward. A little nervous as to whether Disamis is going to make his way up to top side. Could try and wrap around him behind Baron Pit though and look for the gank top.
Yeah, we'll see whether he actually has some information about where that ward is, or whether he just wants to go for quad. Already, the Q damage starting to stack up, as quad doing a fair bit of work here, as we can see. So we'll make things a little bit less ideal as far as gank ability. Both of them going to be backing at exactly the same time though. Do love some of that coordination. And the game is extremely even, and I imagine that's how it's going to look until level 6s are going to be hit. I thought that if anything was going to happen, it'd be Disamis to be able to get something done early on, but deciding to just go for a full clear and keep farming things up.
Yeah, and that's where we saw a lot of the objective fights was kind of where this series really kicked off. Yep. The last time we saw these two teams face off. So I'm not surprised that we're going to end up waiting for that, especially CC. Like, it's not only the Wukong that comes alive. Orianna looking significantly better when she gets access to that shockwave as well. And there's just not really a huge amount that Morttheus and Trymbi can do in this bottom side. Point of case.
Busio certainly thinking like he can do something here as they do get the trample onto Trymbi. Morttheus trying to get something done, but it's not quite working out. And Massu presses Q, and that means they have to run the heck away. Is going to be the answer here as, wow, a fair bit of damage from Bwipo, who is having a much better time on the Mordekaiser this time around.
Yeah, significantly better time. I mean, Boal will be fine. You're still Sion, and you're still keeping even on the CS side of things. I think until we actually see Inspired come up here and make Boal pay for the health that he's actually losing, I think VKS are going to be happy enough to leave their top laner surviving in that lane matchup. And yeah, I think the biggest issue for VKS is just access to lane states is a little bit difficult for Disamis. So Inspired just kind of gets to play his game of farming it out.
Well, Bwipo is going to take a cheeky turret shot, eats it with the shield, so he's going to be fine. Or the Slayer actually manages to connect. But looks like it is just going to be some resets coming on through. And now, because things are slow, things have calmed down, who do we like if we do get to a later stage of the game? Who has the onus on them to make something happen because they don't quite have the scaling matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go against the Viktor and Yunara late game, right? I think a good Shockwave and a good Cataclysm setup can always turn the tides of a fight. But I think in general, I just like the ability to have just the late game damage that comes out from both of the carries on Fly. And also, as you were saying, like, I think this game is going to be very difficult for Morttheus to try and play. You have to try and get past Inspired on the Wukong, Bwipo just pressing ore on you, and actually, Disamis might get caught here.
Yeah, Busio going to be joining in as well as the animals come out of the jungle. That is going to be a fantastic snare onto Disamis, and down he goes. First blood over to the Western Goat jungler. Inspired going to be able to claim that one as Mireu not able to punish Busio at all, and VKS lick their wounds, run away, but they lose their jungler.
Great interrupt from the flag and drag, and the pick by Fly, and again, Busio end up, oh, hang on, oh, you all right? He should get to his tower.
He's all right, he gave us the thumbs up. That means he's all right. Okay. Yeah, I don't know whether that's true, though.
Look, sometimes you gotta fake the confidence and just look for the best, you know?
Well, fake it till you make it is currently working. We'll see whether Bwipo is going to make it frustrating, as you can see there. Just continuing to layer Q after Q. Mordekaiser being very, very frustrating. Currently only up 3 farm, though. And so Boal, as long as he is just, you know, weathering the storm, he will be Sion. As this game goes on, it's not exactly a composition with a whole lot of threat towards tanks outside of if Yunara does get herself a little bit further ahead. But 3 items is probably when she can start cutting him down. So it does depend on the tempo of the game. As another double pulverize comes through here from Busio, looking to try and get that stun onto Trymbi. That's going to land, but Morttheus doing a whole lot of work here to get damage back onto the level 5 Alistar. The flash forward from Trymbi, I don't know about that one, with Morttheus gets the ulti just for the shield. Cataclysm, and they are both so close to dead. Just stuck in the pen, but it's not. They can't get the extra bit of damage.
Oh, the headbutt from Busio was so clutch in keeping them safe. Even then, I thought that maybe someone could step up and get an auto attack, but now inspired.
Oh no.
Eyes on Kaisa.
He's going to give them the Teemo thumbs up as Morttheus is in so much trouble, and yeah, he is just going to be dead. And FlyQuest will punish. Oh man, but it was so close to 2 kills.
I mean, even the Q at the end from the Jarvan had to tickle Busio on the way out, but it's just not enough damage, and that's heartbreaking for VKS.
Oh, it absolutely is. Only 1 extra kill. It was onto Morttheus. It means that he's not going to be able to catch this wave that you can see crashing towards that top side. And so a 1.7 thousand gold lead to start things off. And we have to look back to the LTA finals, and some of the early games were actually kind of fine for VKS. A lot of what made FlyQuest feel so comfortable in that series was that the macro game was just a step ahead, right? And so when VKS were in these scrappy moments, they were able to find some angles. It was after that that things were a problem. If they're a problem now, it's really bad.
And it was Busio who picked up the finals MVP in that series as well, and again, he was involved in play number 1, kept that play safe on the top side as we get the replay here of it. And it gives enough time for Inspired to come along and finish off the kill, because I thought this was going to be a little bit risky. Like, you're putting so much DPS into the Alistar while you're just getting hit down by Massu. But obviously waiting for Disamis to come in, thought they had enough to flash away, but that head buff, so crucial. Didn't even need, I think the pulverize not hitting was actually better, because it means that they can't get into that pit to actually finish them off. And just barely able to survive.
Yeah, that was our reaction too, as it turns out. As Busio, going to be toying with them here just a little bit. As another death grip going to come on down there, as Bwipo will be stunned up. As both of them with basically the same ability, but Sion's is a little better, because that gets a knocker. Mordekaiser doesn't have to charge up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. There are differences, but they are very similar shapes, and it's kind of funny. That's all right. Bwipo once again just continuing to shove wave after wave into this turret, and now finally there is a decent advantage here for the Mordekaiser as far as farm is concerned. Almost 2 waves as Boal, in fact, gives up on this this wave from before and was actually just fighting Bwipo. So a little bit further behind after this wave is going to be eradicated as well, as we do have an anchor connecting. Depth charge down as Voidseeker will land. Massu once again Cataclysm, but immediately dashes out of the way. The Arc of Ruin going to be doing a fair bit of work there. Unbreakable Will this time is available. Busio uses it, gets a whole bunch of value now. Bwipo's looking a little worse for wear, but not a lot of blue stuff available here for Boal, and Bwipo doesn't need to worry about that. Just needs that number to tick down as he's inside the Death Realm, but he's looking kind of okay.
I'm shocked that Claw didn't connect, honestly, onto the side. I thought Boal was in a lot more trouble. And same on the top side. VKS really want to put the hurt onto Massu and Busio, but good guy Busio blocking that hook meant that they just couldn't finish it off.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shame here, and it's another attempted gank from Disamis, not quite working out. Still, I mean, 1.7k, nothing to write home about, nothing to worry about. As we do get some vision down, does get information that Inspired has just gone back home. So a little bit of 2v2 time possible. They do head back up there, but it looks like they have different ideas. Morttheus and Trymbi moving now towards that bottom side.
Yeah, but FlyQuest are still keeping on a roll when it comes to objectives. Already got the 3 Void Grubs, now moving over towards the Dragon as well. Although double questioning themselves as to whether they want to fully commit, as Bwipo's only just got back into lane, and Boal might get the interrupt here.
Oh, just barely. As Massu is able to skate his way back. We haven't spoken too much about the mid lane, mainly because it's Orianna versus Viktor. Notorious for being one of the least interesting matchups of all time, as this one isn't. Trymbi, as Feats of Warfare going on over to quad, and oh dear, just caught warding. An unfortunate outcome for a support, but one that is sometimes unavoidable.
Yeah, it means Fly now will be able to get that Dragon. They've also can shift Yunara with Massu down to that bottom side and look to put a bit of pressure down, especially if they can keep Disamis out of this bottom side, which looks like they just bottomed. They might be able to look for a dive onto Massu, or onto, sorry, Morttheus.
See what they can get there. You can see Busio wrapping around. Another minion wave is going to crash in mid, opening things up for Quad, but he is just going to go for a little bit of a reset. But I mean, it's just VKS kind of bleeding gold at this point and objectives at the same time. Bwipo, it's that passive proc, and over again, things are looking more and more difficult. Riftmaker is now completed for the Mordekaiser, making him so sticky in this lane. It's a decent fully charged Q to come through from Boal. If he does get the combo, he can be scary, but the problem is the answering buttons are doing work here from Bwipo. And as you can see, sort of healing all the way. Oh, we do have the ulti connecting, but puts him into the Death Realm. And Disamis, they both disappeared. Oh no, the Q is going to miss. Let's see whether Boal does have the fancy feet as he gets the shield. Cataclysm, slam dunk onto Bwipo, and VKS are on the board.
The best moving truck I've ever seen as he's able to sidestep
everything. The turning circle on that one made no sense.
Absolutely insane. And it's Bwipo ends up falling, now giving you a little bit of time alone with this topside turret. You're able to get a reset in, and VKS getting something on the board.
Well, let's see whether they can follow that up with some more success here, as on the bottom side of the map, it is just plates being taken. Slurkle will connect as Anchor just barely not finding the mark, as Morttheus just wanted to get out of here by the looks of things. See whether it is going to be Kraken Slayer done. Let's have a look at this replay one more time, though, as it was almost just a 1v1 that Bwipo was able to win.
Yeah, Boal ends up cancelling the build dirty, so he still gets the damage. And then this Q not connecting as Boal gets the sidestep. Massive. These are just not enough damage in the tank. And then the Cataclysm brings the hurt down onto Bwipo.
Yep, getting the Soul Furnace at just the right time to make sure that Boal was never going to die, allowing Disamis to get on in there. So really nicely played. Still, 2.2k gold lead. Not exactly anything that Fly is going to be too worried about, but a step in the right direction here from VKS. And they have a very playable composition, right? Like it does the front to back thing. They can get picks if they would like to. They're going to need to if they want Morttheus to be able to pop off. But their follow-up, right? The cleanup in these fights is going to be something that they'll be very capable of if Mireu can get some of these hero shockwaves. We've seen already from BDD that it can happen, but he's going to get engaged on here as Busio gets the trample. They do decide not to go further. Spy just a little further away than he wanted to be.
Yeah, there's 20 seconds until the Rift Herald, so just trying to see if they can get some hurt onto this Orianna in the mid lane so they can fall back towards that. Busio's going to look for the reset now as go back and pick up a couple of wards. I think that's where FlyQuest can kind of use the advantage that they have the item and a half ticking over on most of their carries, just brute force their way in towards the objective. VKS, like, you can look for some picks around here. As you say, like, you still have that shockwave that can set up. It doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but if you find the right targets and you can pick off Massu in the middle of this fight, that's kind of the most of the DPS of FlyQuest Con.
Yep. This will be feats of strength if Fly can actually pick up this Rift Herald. Don't necessarily need to worry about it, though, because VKS have been yet to find any of the neutrals on this map. Outside of this Rift Skull that we do see Disamis pick up now. Busio, though, lying in wait. Exactly in a great position. Headbutts his way out. Cute little emotes, but not too much more to worry about. Is Inspired waiting in the wings. Will spot the VKS are in the area. But full control of the river right now.
FlyQuest are kind of happy to take it slow, though. You can see in the bottom side of the map, Quad has the push against Sion. It can just chip away at this turret while we're waiting in this top side. So as long as they have that, they're good. But starting to maybe shift him up as it starts to start this one off.
Oh, Morttheus on a flank angle. The flanking Kaisa. It's an interesting one. Has sometimes worked, sometimes been a catastrophe. As Bwipo takes a fair bit of damage here. Boal really wanted to start a fight because he's moved and Quad hasn't. So now VKS certainly on the clock. They need to start this one off, take it down, get some value, because otherwise they might just lose a turret for nothing. Bwipo is going to be rotating down, Inspired on that blast cone, ready to get in here. It looks like Fly actually planning to fight for this. Turret does go down, and now a teleport could immediately come in. There it is. Knock up onto Busio, but he has the ultimate running, gets a triple knock up with that pulverize, and Inspired gets himself out of there, but the shutdown is going to come on through. Morttheus in trouble as Bwipo takes him out as well, and it's the Mordekaiser that's an absolute monster in the fight. Death Grip connects, triple kill for Mord and for Bwipo. And VKS just reeling after that one.
The Mordekaiser came back from the Death Realm after yesterday's appearance, and Bwipo is popping off. 3 kills in the fight. And FlyQuest, they just get everything.
And that's an example of what's supposed to happen when you pick the Mordekaiser, and it looked absolutely fantastic there. Man, an immovable object, absolutely. It was a decent start, but they just couldn't kill Busio. Like, engaging onto an Alistar, it's never really going to work out. And his pulverized setup, the fight was beautiful. Let's have a look at it again.
Yeah, I think VKS thought, okay, Massu's in a bit of an awkward spot, so you can see here with the ult, doesn't really get into the fight for the longest time. But Bwipo having such a good position here, immediately gets on towards the back line. And then, as you were talking about, Busio able to step out. Massu, this 1v1 dual potential we talked about between the Kaisa and the Yunara, going in favor of Massu. And then Bwipo's just able to chase people down. Fly. Not only did they win this fight, they got that bot lane tower. You now have the Runan's Hurricane complete on towards the Yunara, and Rift Herald's still up and available.
Yep. I feel like we stole that clip from yesterday. Trymbi, once again, not feeling fantastic at how the first team fight did go. And now, 3,300 gold is going to be the lead. Mireu now moving towards the top side, feeling like he's going to be the best one to deal with Bwipo right now. Does have a tier stacked up before he builds that Archangel stuff. Not normally something that we need to talk about, but after yesterday, I feel compelled to. As you can see, Disamis will be able to start this. So no one actually did anything about the Rift Herald.
Yeah.
And so Shelly is now going to be getting the attention she deserves, and it will be picked up here by VKS in trade for the second Drake, which will be going over pretty comfortably here to FlyQuest.
Yeah, I did assume that FlyQuest would just try and take the fight of the Rift Herald anyway.
That's probably why the Rift Herald is, because there's 50% of a turret dead.
But yeah, I thought you'd just have FlyQuest fight. You've got Massu in a great spot, and they will take the fight.
Yeah, they will. Exhaust now down onto Trymbi as into the backline goes to Disamis. They get the ulti, they layer it on top of Massu and take him down. Bwipo now fighting Mireu. There's the shockwave coming out. Death Grip not quite going to connect here as this looks a little bit better for VKS, but Trymbi's going to go down. It's a double for Inspired as Quad turns up, and the Arcane Storm is now down onto Disamis. The Death Ray is named pretty well here in this instance, and Fly punished them for going for that Herald.
Yeah, it looked like with Massu maybe going down, VKS had a chance, but it wasn't even close. Fly show up out of the woodwork and absolutely rinse VKS in the fight.
Oh man, and Mireu is actually doing a pretty decent job there towards the top side of the fight. The problem is, if he's spending time 1v1ing a Mordekaiser, he can't be an Orianna. He's supposed to be there hitting 4 people with a shockwave.
It is also a very defensive build. Like the Seraph's Embrace into the Roa is just like not really going to give you a huge amount of damage at this stage.
We call it Bruiser Orianna.
Yeah. So it means that the actual Bruiser that has the DPS items and Inspired could do a lot of work in this fight as the Wukong. And then Quad looking great. He just finished off a second item before this fight as well. So the amount of DPS with that Leandri's coming out, able to finish off so many members.
Yep. Kind of benefiting off the cheeky little kill that he got earlier on in the game as well. A little bit accelerated, now 2-0 and 2, 700 gold in the lead. And Mireu, I feel, is doing the best out of his whole team, right? Like, you compare his farm to everyone else, and he's 30 ahead of the next. And so Mireu doing decently well, but is still pretty far behind.
Yeah, I mean, both mid laners kind of got to sit back, relax, put their feet up, and just kind of right-click every so often.
It was just Red Dot Simulator for the mid laners.
But yeah, I think now Mireu, sure he's hit his 2 items, but as you say, it's a Bruiser Orianna, not going to do a huge amount. He still needs a 3rd item to really start to do that DPS. But with the level that the game has gotten to, it's going to be kind of difficult to hit that at the same pace that you need to keep up with Fly.
All right, so looking pretty dire for VKS, but I've got a little bit of a but. It's a 25% but. You know, it's not a great one, but there is one, and that is Otacon. Everything is throwable when there's an Otacon in the game.
It is the greatest objective that's been added.
It is.
We still haven't figured out how to do it.
If you really like games that are thrown away at a neutral objective, it is the greatest thing to be added to League of Legends, 100%. And we'll see whether FlyQuest are going to be falling into that trap or whether it's going to be something that they use to their advantage. And I think that has been what has happened over the year. And that has been teams developing, understanding that this is an objective that you don't necessarily want to take, but you can bait your enemy team into dying in an unfortunate scenario. So we'll see whether they use it for that or whether they just decide to kill it, which is what's looking like it's what's going to happen.
I will say, though, you don't have Flash on Massu yet, which is what I thought FlyQuest would wait for, because you can see how vulnerable he has been in some of these fights. But VKS, very far away. You just had the resets come through from Mireu as well. It's
there are double teleports. They could decide to go for it if they want to, but they instead, and I feel a bit silly talking about it, Daga. I'm not going to lie, because I said
your point was valid.
Yeah, but it's just, as you see here.
And that's not just me being a yes man.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Yes man or no, it means a lot. As Circle comes on down, Massu is going to be put into the Cataclysm, but unfortunately, Disamis is a little bit alone, and Massu just gets a couple of autos to take him out. Flash wasn't up, but it wasn't required either, as that's a decent little knockup from Boal, but still FlyQuest are, as a unit, looking for the angles, and it's just a Sion by himself. That is not going to be able to find it. And the flash in from Bwipo to take down Morttheus. He does ult. They do manage to get the kill on the Mordekaiser, but unfortunately it's still not looking fantastic. A Zombie Sion not going to be able to get too much more done as Inspired sneaks on in and takes down the Kaisa. Decent little knock up there from Trymbi, but the Cyclone is going to answer, and the Cyclone is not looking good here for VKS, as it's an ace picked up by Quad.
It's the bounce house for the party that is FlyQuest in this game. Managing to pick up so many kills and the Atacon, tower and top side, and it's the perfect timing. Reset, spend your gold, and Baron's up in a minute and a half. But
oh my goodness.
You see here, Quad, they go onto him, but a good flash over the wall, and this Redemption gets so much value in this pit as well. But this is what we're saying, Morttheus can't really get involved in this fight. Mireu is the only one who can really get the DPS that he needs, and Bwipo even tries to get the ults. Doesn't quite manage it in the end. But still, nice flank from Inspired then afterwards. Hops over the wall, realizes where his target is, and hasn't had to bring the ult
left, right?
Yeah.
Killer Instinct was down, the flash was down, needed all of that to get out of the way of Bwipo, and then, I mean, Inspired is just so big. And we keep replaying the same clip. I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to acknowledge that it could be him doing it 3 times. Because it's a little bit of a shame here. Right now, though, FlyQuest are just running away with this one, as is to be expected, right? We have to remember, this is the hope of the West. FlyQuest have looked fantastic at a lot of international events so far this year. And it's a tough task for VKS to take them down, even though they've had a whole lot more experience against this team than a lot of the others. Still staring down the barrel of 0-2 here in Swiss is a very rough time.
Especially for LTA South fans, because this was kind of a team that a lot of fans were saying could be the best team that the LTA South has ever sent to the World Championship. And a lot of that hope now, after the loss to Team Secret Wales, now pulling FlyQuest and going to a potential 0-2, kind of be squandered. So I think for a lot of LTA South fans, they'd love to see VKS either turn this around, but turn their worlds around as well and find some luck in their wins.
Well, I tell you what, if they win this game, that's going to be amazing, you know? Because they're staring down the barrel of Soul Point, already picked up here by FlyQuest. That is a Hextech Soul as well. I don't think we need to really tell anyone that that is going to be a worrisome thing if it's picked up here by FlyQuest. And also, there's a 6,000 gold lead at 25 minutes, and that is absolutely nothing to scoff at. There is some playmaking potential, right? You can always get in there with a nice hook and the combo from the Cataclysms and the Shockwaves and things like that. Mireu hits everyone with all of his abilities. There is some magic possible, but it is feeling very, very rough, especially with just how well Viktor and Yunara scale into the later stages of the game. And I mean, even Mordekaiser and Wukong are going to do a whole lot of work. Yeah, that's an Infinity Edge.
Yeah, that's a toughie.
Yeah.
And it's also, again, you don't have that massive DPS on Mireu yet, so at this point, I think you have Morttheus in a decent position, right? He's matched with 3 items that are come across, even though he is 1k behind. This Kaisa can still do work. It's just the opportunities for it are few and far between.
Well, Busio is just wandering underneath the turret, gets a nice double pulverize here as they take out the turret in a blink of an eye. Hook is going to connect onto the cow, but he's tanking so much of the damage out of VKS. The FlyQuest are able to land some pot shots of their own. Staying pretty healthy, our VKS, but look at that Arcane Storm. It's doing so much work. Inspired goes in, hasn't even pressed the R button yet as they're being so patient in this fight. Death Grip going to connect onto Boal, but he is able to walk it off. VKS are left alive for the moment, but it looks like a little bit of a return to the Baron here for FlyQuest, and face-checking this one's going to be so rough here for VKS. They do have some cheeky wards, though, so the information is going to be there as FlyQuest start this one up. And there it is. You're not quite going to connect here as Busio is in a great position right now. Inspired getting on over towards Trymbi as they all engage onto a clone. I'm not sure about that one. Oh, the Cyclone angle could be absolutely terrifying, but instead, Inspired just going to hold on and move back towards the Baron. This is very measured play out of FlyQuest.
Fly are just playing with their food right now. They know that they already have that combo we were talking about down, but the engage.
Yeah, Bwipo just standing stalwart in front of the enemy as Pulverize only onto one, but they're just holding them at bay right now. Inspired goes in, immediately goes out yet again. They're waiting for the overextension as Trymbi is going to go down. Disamis finally flags and drags his way in, but already they've lost their support. Massu is, Mireu's nowhere near. And Morttheus, I mean, yes, he's still alive, but he's not going to be able to do anything on his own as Quad picks up the kill onto his opposite number, and Morttheus goes down as well. A beautifully executed series of plays by Fly. They never overextended, not even once.
The patience was so good from Fly. Like,
it was almost frustrating.
It was. After the Cataclysm was used just to try and contain them in the mid lane, to stop them being able to poke. Fly knew that they already had that fight in the bag. Moved back towards Baron, they bait VKS in perfectly. And now they'll take the purple worm as their reward.
Yep, teleport does bring a cow down towards the bottom side of the map. I don't think that Boal is going to be too worried about that one, but he might be worried when the cow turns a little bit more purple. That is going to be happening now, 18-4. And you might be saying, Alice, you're a bit silly. They were 8,000 gold behind, so obviously, I mean, FlyQuest can basically do whatever they want. But the only way the VKS gets back into this game is if Fly overextends and throws away their lead. And that could be something that happens. We have seen it happen before here at the World Championship as well. Miracles can indeed happen, but FlyQuest just didn't let them. There was no opportunity, no way that it was going to work at all based on how they played it. And Bwipo now is going to be finding Disamis, who's just trying to hold him in position. Death Realm going to come on through here, but the rest of VKS are in the area. Let's see what FlyQuest can actually do to try and save their top laner. This is going to be a difficult one. Cyclone comes in from Inspired, and Disamis is likely going to be the first to go down. Bwipo is actually still alive, but the GA is going to get popped, and Quad takes matters into his own hands, flashing on forward. Morttheus getting a fair bit of work done, but it's a double kill for the Viktor. The wallets are too heavy, Dagda, and FlyQuest are going to claim whoever they would like.
Mireu has the TP back as he was getting chased down by Massu. Nothing is working for VKS, and Fly just continue to take over in their topside jungle.
Yep, Inner Turret is now going to fall down on the top side of the map as VKS are continuing to reel. It's 13,000 gold. That's a lot of gold.
And there's still more to take before this game ends, including a Hextech Dragon that has just been started off by Massu here. That's Soul.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's not getting any easier for VKS.
Yeah, bad is meeting worse. Because if it was difficult before, and it was difficult before, it's near impossible now. Hextech Soul is a ridiculous thing to deal with. Oh dear. So the MasterCard Priceless moment comes on in here as the Dragon Soul is going to be claimed here by FlyQuest and could be the death nail for VKS. And Inner Turret going to fall bottom side of the map as well. And I mean, it just feels almost impossible as Death Ray not quite going to land. Flag and drag to get Disamis back towards this fountain, fill up that health bar once again. They might have one more fight in them. You can see Boal ready to leave the station, and he will do it now. Shockwave going to connect onto only one as Busio gets into the backline, finds the triple knockup. This guy's Alistar has been absolutely unreal as the double to start the fight for Inspired. Quad's legendary absolutely in this game. And Inspired is between two Nexus turrets, picking up a triple kill. Whilst Zombie Form is going to go down, and FlyQuest are going to dispatch VKS in pretty comfortable fashion here in our first game of the day. Back in form, looking at 1-1 now in Swiss.
FlyQuest back to business as usual as they'll take down the Nexus and finally find that 1-1 as they start to move forward.
And a little unfortunate on the VKS side here, moving to 0-2, but they are not out of it yet. They can play for their tournament lives against the other 0-2 teams from the end of today. But FlyQuest looking fantastic after this first game. We're going to hear from the analyst desk about what they thought of it.
Well, turns out FlyQuest looking pretty good when they don't face off against the world champions, guys.
We'll take it. That's true. And
A win for the LTA. Who'd have thought?
no matter what.
No, but seriously, that was a swift game from him.
Yeah, it was nice to be able to see them at the confidence with the lead that they were able to have. And of course, it wasn't as if like VKS were not active. They were trying constantly, but they just weren't being given angles.
Yeah, I think they really struggled to get the ball rolling. And, you know, we saw yesterday against Team Secret Wills, that early momentum was something they found. They didn't get that this time, and it meant that when they got to the team fights, they were at more of a deficit, and they really struggled there.
Yeah, and even just taking a step back, whenever you go into games like these against opponents you've beaten before,